Hello my lovely floss tube friends, and welcome back to the channel. A very warm welcomes to you all. I decided today I needed to do a little bit of stitching, and it's a busy day. So today is Sunday the 24th of July. It is very early in the morning. The girls have had their breakfast, so hopefully they'll stay snuggled up on the bed. She says that side there. Look, there's one there. Can you see her? I don't think you can. Oh yeah, there's one that side. So the girls are snuggled up on the bed behind me because they've had their breakfast and they've been playing in the garden. It is super early, so the rest of the household are fast asleep. The plan for today is to try and get half hour to 45 minutes worth of stitching in, and then head off out in the garden because it is supposed to be a glorious sunny day at 27 degrees, which is much more reasonable and much more conducive for sunbathing weather. Tinker around in the garden. I've got my Tesco's delivery coming, and I've got visitors today, so hence no live stream. So the plan was to try and get a video up, in which case it needs to just be a stitch with me because no live stream. And to be honest, I already sort of said that this weekend I didn't think I was going to do a live because it is officially my first day of full-time work tomorrow. I'm not going into London, I'm going to work from home tomorrow, but it is still officially my first day of full-time work since I had my hip done. And then on Tuesday, I'm heading into London for the first time in 3 years. So this weekend needed to be more about just chilling rather than sort of thinking, oh, I need to do this and I need to go and set that up. So yeah, I didn't need to stress myself out any further this weekend. So hopefully once I'm back into the swing of working, some live streams will flow back in on the Sundays because I do miss you all. But because I was like, I'm going to do some stitching anyway. It makes total sense to take you on for the ride today because I'm sitting here stitching anyway. Well, that's the plan. So let me change all the cameras around and focus you downwards on the project that we're working on today. Yeah, and have a chat. So as you can see, today we are working on the lovely chatelaine, the evening in the park. I've been working on this corner down here whilst I've been off. I'm not sure how much of this you've seen. I think you've seen some of it, but yeah, it sort of got neglected in all fairness. And the reason for that was because I was going off to the chatelaine retreat last weekend. So I was like, well, it will get a whole weekend of stitching since I'm going to a chatelaine retreat. Well, there's a story that goes with that. So yeah, let's talk about that. So let me whiz the camera down so that you can see a bit closer. There we go. That's about as close as I can get you. I think you can see that. Right, okay. So let me just start this off so that I don't end up in the wrong place, because that would be so Teresa like. Okay, here we go. So yeah, explanation. Now I'm sorry if this jiggles around a little bit. I've got this on my corner desk stand, Lowry, with the special attachment, but the frame is probably a bit too big for this, so it might wiggle a little. I'll try not to let it wiggle, but we will do what we can, people. So the explanation of what happened. Well, so last weekend I headed off to the chatelaine retreat up at Crewe. I was so excited and so looking forward to it because it was like the last bit of fun before I have to head back to work. Hold on, Teresa, what are you doing? Don't do that. That would be wrong. No. Yep, there we go. So the plan was to basically have a glorious weekend away with the ladies and stitching and doing all the stuff before I head back into the city and back to reality and working with a very big bump. So that was the plan. And because it was a chatelaine retreat, I'd already sort of said that I wasn't really stitching much on my chatelaine. It sort of got neglected in June. So I was like, well, it doesn't matter because I'm going away in July to a chatelaine retreat. So we'll take evening in the park and it will get basically almost like a whole weekend of actual stitching on it, which is a rarity. So I was like, yep, that sounds like a much better plan. So it didn't bother me that I hadn't stitched on it in June, and it didn't really get touched on in May, I don't think, because I was all about all of the new things, and all the starts and the May madness. So yeah, my plan was in my head that it was totally fine, totally acceptable, because it will just get lots of love in July. Well, I got it out. So I got my chatelaine out, and when I was sort of checking in with people as to what they were taking, I thought, you know what? I always take too much. I take loads and loads of projects with me and never stitch on them, or just get 10 stitches in each, which is like almost negligible. So I was like, well, rather than do that, I'm gonna go light, and I would just take my chatelaine retreat. Just take my chatelaine retreat, so you can see where my brain's at. So it would be that I would just take my chatelaine evening in the park to stitch on in the room, and my winter cricket collection I thought I would take with me, just in case sort of I needed a bit of time out, and I went back to my room in the evening and wanted to sit and stitch whilst with the TV on before I go to sleep. So I thought, well, I'll take my little winter cricket collection. And then because I was going anyway, and so many people had given me so many great views of what they think I should stitch my new mermaid on, my 𝓮𝓿𝓮𝓷𝓲𝓰 mermaid on the fabrics. So the toss up between the Aphrodite and the Atlantis fabrics. So many people suggested that I do a floss toss, that I was like, okay, well, I'll take the stuff with me and I'd do a floss toss whilst I was there, along with Gina. She's got a channel. I'll put a link here as to what her channel is. So yeah, the plan was to sort of sit and decide on the fabric as well. So I didn't actually take any projects, as far as I was concerned, apart from Evening in the Park and my winter by Cricket collection. So when I left here, the plan was to leave nice and early. That didn't pan out for one reason or another. So I didn't really leave home until sort of a lot later than I would have liked. Then I was like, I need to get the car cleaned. So I stopped and got the car cleaned. And then when I was on my way up, I'd stopped and got fuel as well in the car. So I'd gone to the boot. Now, I had 2 suitcases. I had my stitching suitcase, which had my stitchy type stuff in. And then I had my clothes suitcase. But then my Evening in the Park was on its scroll bars. So that doesn't actually fit in a suitcase. So I'd put it in its little sleeve and put it in the boot of the car. At least that's what I thought I'd done. So Kurt, when I've turned up at the retreat and I've sat down at my little space on my table, set all my frame holder up, and then realised I was like, oh, I've left my chatelaine in the car. So Kurt, I've gone out to the car. The chatelaine wasn't in the car. Have you ever had that moment of total panic where it's like, oh my God, I've lost it? And I'm like, 5 years worth of my life and I've lost it. Because I was sure I'd put it in the car. I mean, when I say I'm sure, I was 100% sure that it got put in the boot of the car along with the 2 suitcases. So then I was thinking, I got the car cleaned. Did they open the boot and take it out and forget to put it back in? So is it at the car cleaners? Then I was sitting there thinking, what if I went to my bags in the boot and it rolled out whilst I was, refueling the car? In which case it's been probably run over by another car by now. So yeah, all these really horrible thoughts were running through my head that 5 years of my life has just disappeared. So I decided that I would just ring home and double check. So I rung up and spoke to Lauren, and I'm like, Lauren, can you go in my office, stroke stitchy room? I said, and see whether my Evening in the Park chatelaine is in there on the bed. So, cause she's come in here and she's like, no, I don't see it. Well, my heart dropped I was ready to burst into tears because I'm like, that's it, I've lost it. I've lost it, it's gone. And I turned around and went, what, it's not there? So she said no. So I was like, oh no. She's like, why, what have you done? I went, I've lost it. She's like, Mum, how can you lose it? And then obviously, then I'm starting to have a bit of a nervous breakdown over the whole situation. And then she turned around and she went, hold on. She said, is it just like on its frames, just laying on the bed? So I was like, no. And she was like, is it in one of those weird little sleeve things you've got? So I said, what do you mean? She went, that flowery print things. So I turned around and said, yeah. I said, it's in its sleeve. She went, oh yeah, that's on the bed. Well, the relief, I can't even describe the relief at that point, because I was like, oh, I thought it was gone. I thought it was gone forever. So yeah, needless to say, people, that even in the park, didn't actually attend the Chatelaine retreat, which was its main intention. And under normal circumstances, when I go and do my my retreats, especially the ones that are specific for either Mirabilia or Chatelaine or full coverage, those sorts of things, I always sort of take projects that relate to. So under normal circumstances, since as I haven't just got Evening in the Park as a Chatelaine, I've also started at the last Chatelaine retreat, which was the year before, I'd started the Frosty Knot Garden. But because Evening in the Park is sort of like my focus piece, I was like, no, I'm not taking Frosty Knot Garden, because then it could pull my attention away from actually getting more stitches into my Evening in the Park. And Evening in the Park right now is like, I want it done. I so want it finished. So I was like, no, I'll just take the one main project and one to possibly stitch in my room just before bed if I feel like it. But that was all I took. So needless to say, I'm now at a Chatelaine retreat for the entire weekend without Chatelaine. And I really didn't want to stitch on my Cricut collection winter, just because. So I was beside myself. It was quite funny once I'd realised that it was safely at home, and there was no actual panic about the fact that I'd lost it. I sort of said to Gina, I said, oh, I don't know what to stitch on now. So, because there were shops there, so there was like you could just buy something else, like buy another thing and stitch on that. But I didn't need any more things. Admittedly, I did buy some things, so I'll update you on that on the monthly update at the end of the month. But I didn't really want to sort of start a whole new kit and buy something, because the only real thing there that I would have needed to buy as a kit, or could have bought as a kit, was more like a Mill Hill thing, which, don't get me wrong, they're all right, but they're not really my cup of tea. Not when I'm sitting at a retreat and I'm stitching for the weekend. So I'd sort of said to Gina, I said, oh well, look, let's look at these fabrics anyway. I said, for the Bella Filipina mermaid, and you can help me decide. So we did a floss toss, and we both agreed that there was no problem using the Atlantis fabric, because there was a concern that it might sort of wash out some of the thread colours. But when I sort of done the floss toss, I actually quite liked the Atlantis. So Gina turned around and said, well, if you've got it all here, you've got the threads, you've got the fabric, you've got a spare, you can take winter off of one of your Q-snaps and put it on that. So needless to say that needless to say, she says, get your words right, use your words, Teresa. I ended up with a new start at the Chatelaine retreat, but absolutely nothing Chatelaine related, which was quite ironic, really. It won't be a mistake I'll make again, let me tell you. I was so disappointed that I'd forgotten. How can I forget Evening in the Park? I couldn't believe it. Honestly, I was just kicking myself, because it was just like this. How is that even possible? So yeah, so I decided that because this didn't get the love that it was intended to get, a whole weekend of stitching on it whilst at the retreat. I've put this one on a frame all week. I haven't stitched every night on it or every day on it because I've been busy doing part-time work from home, and then trying to get all the bits and pieces at the ready to return back to work this coming week. So, but it has had a little bit of love, and this is its last weekend out because this gets rotated out. So I was like, well, I'll make sure that I get some stitches in it this weekend to make up for what it didn't get. And then it had a few touches through the week as well, so I'm not feeling quite so bad about the whole situation now, in all fairness. But at the time I was really annoyed with myself. So hence the reason why we are sitting here stitching on Evening in the Park. And this is a rarity. I don't often stitch and chat when I'm doing my Evening in the Park in fear of going wrong, but I'm at a fairly good point with it where, in all fairness, there shouldn't really be anything that goes wrong. I think I'd see it if it went wrong at this point. So let me just finish this thread. There we go. So there we go. That was the excitement of the stitching retreat. However, when I came back from the retreat, there was a few people that were at the retreat that everyone tested before we went, and we was all negative. And then I come back on the Sunday, and I think it was through the course of the weekend there was one or two people that just generally weren't feeling very well. But that was the weekend where it was really hot, so obviously a lot of people have allergies, and and to be honest, because everyone's been so good at sort of staying away from germs, the problem is now I think there's a lot of people that are getting common colds again now because we're not all wearing face masks. So there was a few people that weren't really feeling so good by the Sunday. I decided that I was going to head off early on the Sunday. Right, let me just find my colour, Elephant Castle. So I decided, because that was the weekend where we was going to get up to like 40 odd degrees down here, I was like, actually, I think I'm going to head home because I have no idea what the traffic's going to be like. I have got air conditioning in my car, but I didn't really fancy sitting in a car in 40 degrees in traffic, even with the aircon. So I was like, no, I'm going to make a move early. So the plan was to get on the road by about 11. Of course, me leaving a retreat never goes according to plan because I like to go round and say goodbye to everyone, and yeah, that takes time. So I didn't actually leave there until about 12 o'clock ish, and then I headed home. But then once I was at home, unfortunately it worked out that there was someone at the retreat that, although they tested negative on the Thursday when they left home, and they'd done all the right things, unfortunately someone had COVID. So at that point they're like, can everyone just test? And everyone heads up there was someone at the retreat that had COVID or has tested positive for COVID. And literally I cannot even begin to tell you, they were dropping like flies. I think we ended up with 9 people at the retreat. Not at the retreat, but obviously when they've all got home. Slowly but surely over the course of the next sort of 24 hours, about 9 people got confirmed as having COVID. But, you can't do anything now. I mean, there's no, if you test before you go, I don't really know that there's much more that anyone can do. So, I mean, for those people that, that caught it, no one blames anyone for catching it. It's just really unfortunate. But I do feel for the one that turned up with it without realising. If they feel, it's my fault, I think I would feel that way personally if that was me. But there's nothing you can do. There's no way of knowing that you've got it. I mean, I think that's the biggest problem with it. You're walking around with it without even knowing that you've got it. So yeah, so that was I mean, I kept testing. I stayed away from mum as soon as I knew that there was someone there that had COVID. I decided that I'd give mum a bit of a wide berth, at least for sort of 72 hours afterwards, and just keep testing just to make sure that I was okay. I didn't get it. But unfortunately there was others there that were not quite so lucky. So I hope that for those that did get it, that they're starting to feel better now. So it just goes to show, I mean, COVID over here is sort of, you know, the numbers haven't changed. It's still, you know, that we've still got a lot of COVID around. I think the difference is it's not as life-threatening for most as it was. So yeah, so there was that, which was, you know, not ideal for those that got it. I mean, that's one of the things that worries me about heading back into London, because I basically spent all this time not really going out, not being in that much contact with the outside world. And you know, when you're sort of sitting there thinking, well, is my immune system sort of up to scratch, that, you know, I don't want to end up being that person that as soon as I get on a train I catch everything and anything, because I've not been near people. Because although everyone else has sort of returned to sort of work and some sort of normality, because I've been laid up with my hip, I've not really gone anywhere. And before my hip, I was still sort of being very careful and mindful because of my mum. So, you know, Darren would go to Tesco's 90% of the time. If I did go in there, I would only go in there at night time when there was very few people there. So yeah, so I mean, I haven't exactly surrounded myself by lots and lots of people. So I do foresee that if I'm lucky enough not to catch COVID whilst going backwards and forwards to London, if I don't catch that, I'll guarantee you I'll have every cough and cold going, just because I haven't had any lurgies for some time now. But there's quite a few people in work that have now had COVID, where they've been doing their commuting. So I think it's still really it's very much out there in the world. So, you know, when you're sort of like, I don't want to be that person, but I think I'm going to be that person that on the train I'm going to wear a face mask. I don't think I want to be on a train without a face mask, surrounded by people that could have it. It's a bit different when I'm in the office, because in the office I do have a lot more personal space. But on a train or in a packed tube, you don't really get that luxury. So I'm a bit like, no, I don't think I'm comfortable with just walking around on the train as normal. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure if I caught it I would be fine. I mean, I was sick the first time. I do tend to sort of, you know, if I do catch something, I tend to feel pretty dreadful. Unlike some people that have sort of been like, well, I had it, but, you know, it was really nothing to worry about. I mean, Darren, when we caught it back at Christmas time, Darren, I think, only had symptoms for maybe 2 days, and then he was totally fine, totally back to normal. He still had it, but he felt absolutely fine. Me and Lauren, 2 weeks after we had it, we still feel dreadful, you know, and couldn't make it through a day without having to go and lay down and without the headaches. And so, yeah, so that's the only bit that does worry me about heading back into society, let's say, because I have been very shielded and very isolated here. But I will have to grin and bear it and deal with it as however we have to. I mean, it will be quite nice to sort of get back to some sort of normality. I'm not sure the girls are going to agree. They're going to hate it. And it makes it even worse. So the girls went to the hair clippers to go and get their bath. What day was it? I think it was Thursday. And on Tuesday and Wednesday, I'd noticed Honey was acting just marginally strange. Not too strange, but a little bit strange. And would you believe it? I was like, before I took her, I was like, I'll just sort of give her the once over and just check her. And I was like, that's looking a bit suspicious. So when I went and took them to the dog groomers, and I'd sort of said to her, I said, I'm not 100% sure. I said, because I haven't seen anything to tell me it's the case. I said, but I have a very sneaky suspicion that Honey's gone into season, or is coming into season. So she was like, oh, not to worry. She said, I haven't got any other dogs here. It's fine. She said, I'll have a little look whilst I'm grooming her. And true enough, she turned around and said, if she's not in season now, she is coming into season. She said, because she's very sensitive on her back end. And she said, given that she's the groomer and she's looked at Honey quite close and personal before, she was like, yeah, she's definitely at the ready. So, and would you believe it, literally within 24 hours of the confirmation from Lisa, I checked and Honey was in season. But she's doing fabulously, all things considered. So you wouldn't even know she's in season at the moment. She's that good. She's much more subdued than she normally is. Much more sleepy and a little bit more cuddly than normal, but she is being super clean. And I'm saying super clean. She is ridiculously clean. So clean that I've not even noticed anything. Apart from maybe one or two marks that you could tell. But other than that, she has been super clean. So I can't complain. I cannot complain. And the fact that she seems to be, she's not been grumpy. She's not been excessively needy. She wasn't like Bonnie was. I mean, Bonnie was a diva when she was in season. And she got a bit funny with Honey and acted a bit odd. But Honey's still being just as nicey as ever. Just more subdued than normal. So, right, let's finish this thread because oh, this is a bit tricky coming from this angle. Come on, in you go. There we go. Now I'm just trying to feel where the stitch is so I can run it in the back. The only problem with using this little stand, or this corner clamp on the Loury with the big project, is when I've got a camera over the top of it, I can't flip it over to see the back. So I'm having to feel my way with that. Okay. I thought I'd get the last of the stitching on this done today, and then I've got to decide what I'm going to stitch on, because this week's going to be an interesting week, isn't it? Because being in London, I'm not sure. She says, I'm not sure how I'm going to feel. I'm hoping that I'll, get some stitching done on the train on the way in and out of London. That shouldn't be a problem. So then I need to decide what train project I'm going to have. Wow, can't believe I'm actually saying that. what train project I'm going to have. I haven't said that in years. So yeah, so I need to decide on the train project. Once I've decided on the train project, I then need to decide what I'm going to stitch on when I'm not. Let's give that a little. When I'm not on the train. So what my big project's going to be at home. So yeah, so I've got some decisions to make. There we go. I do love this thread. This is a gorgeous colour. This is 𝓮𝓿𝓮𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓰. Look at this thread colour. See if I can. So it goes from like a teal into a purple, into like a dark blue, into a light blue, then back into a purple. It's gorgeous, isn't it? Do love this. This is a silken colour thread, but it's beautiful, she says. Oh, but then what threads aren't beautiful for this project? Absolutely love it. So, decisions, people. What to stitch on. I mean, some of my full coverages have been rather neglected lately because I've been stitching lots and lots of things. But then I need to think of my train project. So do I go with my high heels and start on them, or do I take my winter and get some stitching done on that on the train? Because you never know, I might actually finish it then before Christmas. Yeah, I don't know. I quite like the idea of taking the high heels because that was one of the last projects that I was stitching on the train before I stopped going into London. So yeah, undecided. I mean, will it look a bit odd if I'm sitting there stitching on, you know, snowmen and the likes? Do you think, on a train in the middle of July and beginning of August? Oh, to be honest, it's going to look a bit weird anyway. There aren't very many people over here that sit and do stitching whilst they're commuting into London. That's like I've always, I mean, that was one of the things that I always used to laugh about, is that, you know, a lot of people would like look at me a little strangely when I was on the train doing my thing, because it was just not, you know, it's just not one of those things. I mean, there's lots of people that sit and knit on the train and no one blinks at that. That's like completely acceptable, but stitching on the train, apparently not so much. Right, where was we? We was here, wasn't we? Oh, okay, let's start over there. So you're getting to see how I do my things now. Start my thread there. That just leaves a bit of a tail for the thread over here. And then I lock my thread by coming down to the next one, and this is actually what stitches over the top of this tail there. She says, although that tail's a bit bigger than it should have been. Let me get my scissors. Let's snip a bit of that. Yep. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So yeah, so I mean, this is it. I've got so much sorting out to do. I've got to sort out what I'm going to stitch, what I'm going to have on the frames set at home downstairs, Then I've got to have what I'm going to stitch and what I'm going to have on the frame upstairs, because that needs rotating out this month or this week. And then I need to decide on my train project, which, I don't know, I'm sort of drawn to the cricket winter, because I just want to get it done in time for Christmas or in time for winter. I've had to buy some new summer dresses because, needless to say, being laid up for as long as I have and working from home for as long as I have and not being able to do all the things, I put on a little bit of weight, people. I put on a little bit of weight. So all my little, you know, my little dresses for work and my little sort of, what do they call them, like 3/4 trousers, my crop trousers, they're all a bit too snug. So yeah, needless to say, Teresa either needs to get more active or go on a diet, one out of the two, because I can't fit into any of my clothes. So I had no choice but to go and buy some summer frocks for work. I'm loath to buy anything sort of, oh, got a knot, people. Oh, there we go. Let's get that out. I'm loath to go and buy any new trousers or anything like that, because the plan is that as soon as I'm commuting and back into London and moving around more, it should all just drop off anyway, because I'll be more active. So yeah, so I don't want to go and buy lots of new clothes just for work, but I've obviously spent far too much time in leggings and jog pants, because without realising it, when it comes to putting my work clothes back on, it's not that I can't get them on, I can, but they're a lot snugger than I remember them. So yeah, definitely there's a few pounds on there that needs to come off, but hopefully that's just, you know, that goes with the territory. When you sort of still eat as normal and don't move, barely move, it would be hardly surprising that I haven't put on a bit of weight. So I just need to show some self-control now with not eating all the naughty food and start eating all the good food. So yeah, so we've got some new frocks for work. And to be honest, the weather over here has still been really lovely. So like I say, today we're looking at 27 degrees and sunny. But I think next week it's supposed to get cooler. Right, let me just check, people. I'm making sure that I'm not going wrong here. Yeah, no, that's fine. So at least commuting won't be, it's not like I'm trying to commute in super amounts of heat, because I think it's supposed to have a nice cooler temperatures next week. So I think it's more sort of between 22 and 24, which, must admit, at least that way I know that I'm not missing out on loads and loads of sunshine, which is sort of always a bugbear for me, because for some bizarre reason, whenever I'm working full time in the office, it's glorious sunshine and 27 degrees, you know, perfect temperature all week whilst I'm at work, which is when you could sit in the sun and sunbathe and, you know, tinker around in the garden. And then as soon as the weekend comes and I'm like, yeah, I can go and sit in the garden, it'd either rain or it'd be cloudy or it'll just be colder or the sun won't be out, and I'm just like, really? And then come Monday morning, it'll be blistering sunshine again. And that always used to annoy me, because I'm like, why is it every weekend is terrible but all week is glorious, when I can't enjoy the weather if I'm in the office with my ridiculously cold air conditioning that they insist on blasting at us. I think it's to make sure we don't all fall asleep, to be honest. I mean, I know we have to cover, you know, all people, but I have like one of the air conditioning vent units overhead, and sometimes it's so cold, even in the middle of summer, I have to have a shawl and then a blanket or something over my legs because it's just so cold. But obviously others are just like, because they're not directly underneath it, they're like, oh no, I think it's perfect temperature in here. And I'm like, you would do. You're not being blasted with air conditioned cool air right overhead. So yeah. I must admit though, if someone says to you it's 40 degrees outside, what would you prefer? Stand out in 40 degrees or have aircon blasting on you from overhead? I think I still would have gone with the air conditioning blasting overhead, because that last weekend and like the Monday, Tuesday, even the Wednesday for us, that was hot. And I'm very thankful for my air conditioning upstairs, because it got to 40 degrees outside. My house was, I don't know, probably closer to 50 degrees indoors downstairs because of all the glass and no breeze coming through. So I disappeared off upstairs with the air conditioning and the girls, and we were sat in 20 to 20, well, it was about 22 degrees. I set the aircon on and it was heavenly. The only problem was though, and that I have found, is when it's so hot and it's hot everywhere, you sort of have to acclimatise your body to it. It doesn't always feel particularly pleasant, but you do it. Whereas when you've got air conditioning and you go from a room that's like 21, 22 degrees and nice and cool, to then all of a sudden you open the door and it was like getting off of a plane in somewhere like Egypt or Turkey, where literally the heat just hits you and sort of takes your breath away. It was like that. So I came out of the bedroom upstairs of my air conditioned area and literally the hot air just hit me in the face. It was, yeah. At that point it felt like I was abroad. I felt like I was, going on holiday, but without actually going on holiday. The girls didn't find it particularly fun either. But everyone was talking about thunderstorms to sort of clear the air. I didn't get anything. Not even a drop of rain. I mean, honestly, we haven't had rain for ages. We've had literally like a 5-minute shower, but it is a shower. It's like you didn't even have to bring sort of the umbrella in from the table, because it wasn't actually raining. It was just like a tiny little shower. But we haven't had rain for ages, so it's particularly dry at the moment. So I have been trying to sort of go out and make sure that all the garden gets the water, and the grass has been being watered. I don't like yellow grass, although because I've bought 2 girl dogs, I've got loads of yellow mark patches all over the lawn now anyway, because where they go to the toilet on it. I didn't realise that was the case with girl dogs. So yeah, the grass is wrecked. But at least it's not brown or yellow because it's so dried out, because I do water my lawn a lot. Oh no, now I've got a knot in that. How are we going to get you out? We're not, are we? Okay, we're just going to work with that because we can. Okay, where was I? There. So yeah, so it's all good fun here. I think I'm going to finish this last strand, and I think I'm going to call it, people. How long have we been? Yeah, I've been stitching now for just under 45 minutes, and I said about half hour to 45 minutes, didn't I, of stitching? So there you go. I've updated you on a little bit of the fun that's been happening here. I'm going to do my monthly update hopefully next weekend if it all goes according to plan, she says. Right, let's give that a tug because I want to hide that little knot. There we go. That is the plan, is to do the monthly update next weekend, and then I can show you all the bits that I got while I was at my retreat. And I think I took some footage of the retreat finishing table. I didn't get to record in the room with everyone's lovely projects, unfortunately, but I did get the finishing table and the whips table. They had like a table there of chatelaines that people have not finished but are still stitching on, that they just took along as well. So that was lovely to see. And it is really, I mean, you only see it once they were next to each other, but there were quite a few designs that were the same designs but on different coloured fabrics, and that really does make a difference to how the project looks. And yeah, that was so nice to see. You'll see when I post it on the monthly update. I'll put the footage into that at the end of the video to show you sort of all the goodies at the Chatelaine retreat. But it was lovely to see the ladies. That is the one thing that I do miss, is, you know, catching up with everyone and having a good chat. And yeah, it's really lovely. Okay, so I think we've got 2 more stitches, and then I think we're going to call it done, people. And hopefully this is recorded and you did manage to hear me, because like I say, I was trying to keep very quiet because I don't want to wake up everyone in the house, because then my quiet time is no longer quiet. Okay, let's stick that back through there. Who's up and mooshing? Someone's up and mooshing. Oh, it's Honey. Honey the Queen. She's no longer a princess, Honey. She is Queenie. Okay, I can't see what I'm doing with this thread now. Okay, I'm going to finish this thread off camera because I can. Well, I don't think we did too bad. So I've done all my zigzags all the way along the outside. Yeah, we're slowly but surely getting there, people. Let me just whiz you out a little bit so you can see. There we go. So yeah, another corner coming into play. I've got specialty threads, specialty stitches to put in here, and then I think I'll bring the gate down, like the fence and the trees and the whatever, get more trees done and bring it round, and then I'll go over and do the other corner. I'm trying to make it so that I don't just end up with all those trees, because the trees, yeah, let's not even get started on the trees. So thank you for coming and stitching with me and listening to me rabbit about, you know, all the exciting stuff that's been happening in my world. And I will look forward to chatting with you all again, like I say, hopefully, if all goes according to plan, next weekend or the weekend, or next weekend or the week after, with my monthly update. So have a lovely Sunday, people, and until next time, bye bye for now.